Hello everyone, it's Enigma here. Just recently, I have completed a remake of one of my childhood video games that I have grew up playing, and, that game, of course, that I'm going to be talking about today is SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. Now, some of you probably didn't know this about me, but, one of my absolute favorite shows growing up was SpongeBob. I loved the first 3 seasons. I had even considered the 4th season a pretty good season that I grew up with. All those seasons were pretty top tier in my opinion in terms of comedy. And, obviously there was a lot of SpongeBob merch that I've wanted to get. And, one of the many SpongeBob stuff that we got growing up were video games of SpongeBob, and one of these games that I absolutely grew up playing and absolutely loving every part of it is SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. It was a licensed game that came out back in the early 2000s, and basically it was a SpongeBob game. It was a 3D collectathon with SpongeBob characters. You basically had to go around collecting golden spatulas, collecting 80 of Patrick's socks. It was a really fun game, and it was definitely one of the big childhood games that I have grew up with, and it's definitely one game that, has really got me into gaming. One of those games that got me into where I am now. So when they announced a remake back last year in June, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, I was hyped. I couldn't, my hype was unbearable. It's not common for licensed games to be remade. I can't even think of another time that this actually happened. I think SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated is the first remake of a licensed game, so that's pretty incredible. And then when the game came out a few months ago as I'm recording this, and, I beat it, I completed it, 100%ed it, so I wanted to give my thoughts on this game, basically go over the good and the bad, and basically talk about my feelings about it. So, I think this game looks absolutely beautiful. I think this was, it's definitely a redone version of, Battle for Bikini Bottom. It's completely modernized with today's graphics. It looks absolutely beautiful. I can just, there's some places where I can just stare at, the environments for just a good few minutes and really capture the feeling of, the SpongeBob atmosphere, and it really looks absolutely incredible. So yeah, that's definitely one thing that I really absolutely love about this game, is that the graphics look amazing. It's obviously an improvement over the original, but just looking at the new environments, I love it. It's absolutely great. Another positive that, a lot of people use as a negative, but personally, I think this is a positive in my opinion, is that they reuse the old voices from the original Battle for Bikini Bottom. Now, I've heard some people not like that. I heard some people wish that, they kind of reuse. I heard some people wish that they kind of, redone all the voices, and while I can kind of see where some people are coming from, personally I like how they reused the voices. I thought the original voices from the original game were definitely perfect. They didn't really need to change much, and I feel like if they were to redo the voices for this game, it wouldn't really feel like classic SpongeBob, because the reason why this game is so charming as it is because it's supposed to be a homage to the classic SpongeBob. And if you were to recast the entire, if you were to revoice all the lines, it wouldn't really feel like classic SpongeBob. It would more so feel like modern SpongeBob. And while it would have been nice to get Mr. Krabs' original voice actor, I still don't think the voice actor that did Mr. Krabs in this game is that bad, honestly. He's pretty good, and besides, it's really nostalgic hearing that Mr. Krabs. like, I just can't picture Battle for Bikini Bottom with actual Clancy Brown voicing Mr. Krabs, honestly. I think, you know, I can't think of his name, but the guy that did Mr. Krabs' voice in Battle for Bikini Bottom, he did an alright job. And unfortunately, the voice actor of Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy unfortunately passed away. So they kind of had to resort to using Mermaid Man's new voice actor from Battle for Bikini Bottom. But yeah, Tim Conway, he did voice Barnacle Boy in Battle for Bikini Bottom, and unfortunately, he passed away last year. So that's completely understandable why, you know, some characters were left untouched. So I definitely understand that. So I don't really think it's that much of a negative. I think it's actually a positive. I'm glad that they kind of reused the voice lines from the original game, because it definitely makes it feel more like classic SpongeBob than it does modern SpongeBob. And speaking of modern SpongeBob, another positive I really like about this game is that they actually did incorporate some modern SpongeBob references. Now, when they did announce that, you know, they were going to incorporate modern SpongeBob references in this game, because they did kind of say they were going to do that, you know, before, I was kind of skeptical on what those references would be. I didn't really think it would, I didn't really think that the references they were going to pull would be that great, but they actually pulled some great references to modern SpongeBob, and some of the best moments from modern SpongeBob were incorporated in Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. Two examples I can give that, you know, they did reference modern SpongeBob was one of the portraits in Squidward's dream is of handsome Squidward, and obviously that is an episode that's from an episode from like season 5. So that's really cool that they incorporated that. And another episode that was referenced in Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated was Little Yellow Book, which has SpongeBob doing the chicken, like the meme. It's one of SpongeBob's idle animations in this game, so that's another instance of them referencing modern SpongeBob in this game. And I think they are pretty clever references. Those are definitely like some of the best moments from modern SpongeBob, so I think it's nice that those were referenced in this game. You know, as for negatives, I got quite a few negatives. One of my biggest pet peeves with Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated is the frame rate. The frame rate is absolutely bad, especially on the Switch version. And just a full disclosure, the version I have played Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated on was the Nintendo Switch, and I heard that's like the worst version of Battle for Bikini Bottom, so I can completely understand how this probably isn't that bad of an issue on other platforms, but as a Nintendo Switch player, it was definitely noticeable, and I definitely hope in a patch they do improve things a little bit. As for, like, other negatives, there are a few weird bugs in this game. Like, it feels like I obviously get that every game has bugs. There's no way that there's going to be a game that doesn't have bugs. But some bugs that, you know, are in the game feel more like unfinished stuff that they didn't polish correctly. I've heard instances of when people, you know, get socks, technically get socks, like, I heard some people say that, you know, they earn a sock from being in the Shady Shoals, but when they leave the room, the sock isn't there, and you're basically soft locked from getting that sock, and there's basically no other way you can get that sock. So basically, you have to complete the game with one sock short, and that's kind of a major flaw with this game. And I hope that, you know, an issue like this gets addressed, because I don't think this should be acceptable in a game from 2020. That's just my opinion, but I think that's definitely a major flaw with this game, is that some bugs shouldn't be bugs, and I feel like they should be more addressed in future updates. The next thing I'm going to be talking about is, another problem I have with this game But I don't think it's too much of an issue, but it is something that, you know, I wish was kind of incorporated, was I just wish there was more new content in, this remake. Now, don't get me wrong, the game is already great as it is. I'm not gonna be some reviewer like IGN and GameSpot that reviews the games, like, that reviews remakes based on content, because honestly, in my opinion, Battle for Bikini Bottom, all Battle for Bikini Bottom really needed was a touch-up. They didn't really have to add new content personally, but I do wish that they did, because, you know, it really is just the same game, just with a modern touch-up, and again, I don't think it's that bad of a thing, but I just wish, like, they had, like, another level. I heard that Glove World was, like, supposed to be a level from the original game. That could have been really cool as a level, and maybe even in that level, they could have, like, an extra playable character, like, make Squidward playable, because I heard that he was supposed to be playable in the original. You know, it would have been really cool to, like, get at least another playable character. We'll get there in a second, but that is a little underwhelming. I just wish there was just a bit more to separate the Rehydrated remake from the original, but I do admit that, you know, really, just a little touch-up was just enough to really make this game stand out from the original, but that's just something I had to, you know, bring up, is just, I just wish there was just a little bit more. And then the last thing I'm going to be talking about is the Horde Mode. And I'm going to be honest, it isn't that great of a mode. Really, it's just not really fun in my opinion. Now, I will give credit where credit's due. This mode actually does incorporate some new characters. The new characters in this mode are Squidward, Gary, Mr. Krabs, and Robo. So I think it's really cool that you can play as characters that you usually can't play as in the normal campaign. So I really think that's really cool that they did incorporate these characters as playable in this mode. The problem is that this mode just isn't fun. You know, really all you do is just beat up robots, and you don't really get much of a reward for doing so. When you're done with the mode, you just go right back to the menu, and there's no real, like, reward or accomplishment for doing this mode. It's just kind of there. And this is also the mode where the Robo Squidward boss is at, and honestly, that is a bit underwhelming. I thought when they said that the Robo Squidward boss was going to come back, really, I thought they were going to, like, incorporate it as a boss in a level, but unfortunately they didn't do that, and it was stuck in this mode, and that was a bit underwhelming in my opinion. I don't think the Horde mode is all that bad. It is definitely a neat concept, but it's just boring, and I just wish they had some accomplishment and incentive to do this mode. You know, it's just a little bit boring, but I do think it was a nice try to at least add something new to this remake, but it definitely wasn't the best thing that they could have possibly have done, to really differentiate this remake from the original. Overall, this remake was honestly pretty good. I'm just gonna ignore most of the reviewers. Reviewers, I feel, don't really review the game fairly. You know, there's a lot of reviewers that just really nitpicked on minor things, and I do admit that some of my complaints with this game might just be minor nitpicks too, but I still think this remake is honestly really good, and if you like classic SpongeBob, if you like the original Battle for Bikini Bottom, and if you want, and this is honestly the best case scenario. I really don't care if they added new things. As much as I would have loved that, I still think the game is just as great as it was back in 2003, and I'm happy to say that I have enjoyed this game from start to finish, despite its bugs. I mean, again, I played on the Switch version, and that is definitely the worst version to play on, but even as someone who played the Switch version, I can't even say my enjoyment was that bad. I thought this game was pretty fun throughout, and I definitely recommend it if, again, you're a fan of SpongeBob, especially older SpongeBob, and a fan of Battle for Bikini Bottom, or if you're just a fan of 3D platformers in general, this is a game for you, and I'm happy to say I enjoyed it. So I hope this encourages you to go out and try this game because I think it's a really great game. Anyways, that's all I have to say for this video. What are your thoughts on Battle for Bikini Bottom? If you guys have thoughts on Battle for Bikini Bottom, I know this is kind of a different demographic from my usual audience, but I just love this game so much I had to make a video about it. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of this game, and I would love to hear it. Anyways, this has been Enigma, and peace. See you next time.